Good evening everybody, sorry for the delay, but welcome along to the season finale of WNR Silver Division here at the beautiful Abu Dhabi circuit at the Marina. We only have 17 drivers unfortunately today. We have a few connection issues with PlayStation Network, but we have got, as you can see, 17 drivers all ready and raring to go then, as we have a little change in format as well due to the PlayStation Network problems that seem to be happening. We've gone for a short qualifying format. So here at WNR we usually have a full qualifying session and a 50% race, but today it's only a 18-minute short qualifying session. If you've tuned in before, you will know that here at WNR it is a little bit different to all the other league nights. We have two divisions, the gold and silver. Unfortunately the gold this week, but here at silver we're ready and racing. Across those two divisions we have 4 drivers. It was 3 for the start of the season, but towards the end obviously we were able to increase that to 4 drivers per constructor, with both a individual drivers championship in both divisions and then a combined team. So last week we saw the constructor champions not survive. Remember, in the gold division we have a champion, and also here in the silver division Marina is your champion. He is racing in the Williams. As you can see, they are vying with McLaren and Mercedes for that constructors championship. Cannot be officially won today then, as we do not have the gold division racing, but they can do their best to help them. So we've got Devil's Nightmare and LH then in those McLarens that currently lead the constructors championship. You've got the Williams of Marina, your drivers champion, and Jacob in the other Williams. Good deputy performance from him last week in Bahrain. And then in the Mercedes it is Tristan and Stead, so they'll all be looking to contribute to that constructors championship. So here we are then, you can see the cars on the mini map all out on track as we start this qualifying session here at the beautiful Marina Bay. 21 turns around this 3.5 kilometer circuit, and you're riding on board then with your champion for this year as we set the first lap of the session. He's on those medium compound tyres, a little bit different here though in the short qualifying format. You can't really rely on a strategy setup here. That's more for when you do full qualifying. You'd look to do that in Q2, but here it's just all about pure speed through these 18 minutes. We see him come through turn 3 and 4 up to the lovely turn 7. I'm getting my corners mixed up. So as we come down on this long back straight, now look out for a lot of overtakes here in that race then with DRS and a sharp braking zone. Coming down now into the second chicane off the long straight onto the second long straight of this lap through the back stadium section underneath. You see there the Fanatec little billboards as we come up towards the second chicane through what is turns 11, 12 and 13, and coming around the 2 right-handers of 15 and 16 down into the very harsh braking zone of turn 17. Make sure you get that car rotated. You can see there second gear as we come up into turn 18 through under the hotel section, then onto the penultimate corner here at turn 20. What sort of time will this be from Marina as we come round the final corner? It's a 1 minute 37.5 then, but remember, on those medium tyres, as we see more times then, Gavlar 1:37.7, Puppy a 1:38.2. But what tyres have they gone for? You can see already there are 2 soft times being set, but Marina quicker on those medium tyres. With this race, what you'll notice is there is very little difference between the tyre compounds. It's very, very humid and very, very cool, which means Toon fan goes top. Go on the Toon, 1:37.2. What happened there to Steve? He's lost it, I think, coming through turns 20. So he is out. We'll jump on board with the Williams, and I think you'll see there is a stricken red ball. There it is. So Steve is out of this session without setting a lap time as Jacob dives into the pits then. His teammate currently in P2. As we see 8 times now being set. Regan and LH opting for the harder compound tyres then. So seeming to compromise a bit of placement up the order for that strategy in this 50% race. As we see, remember, the Maverick has gone forth. Then Tristan on the softs goes up into P3. That'll be good for the Mercedes. Remember, they are currently 3rd in that Constructors' Championship, but with just a 55-point difference to the top, there is ever so slightly a chance. We see an Alfa Romeo losing its back end there. I think that was Nathan then losing his rear end coming out of turn 3. And a big corner cut from Regan there on that chicane. He's currently in at P10, but remember, these cars all on the harder tyres at the back end of the grid. You can see time difference there. Nathan are 1:44.0. He's struggling at the moment. Will we see those come out on the soft tyres, or will they opt for the mediums? Gambino then goes up into P2 in the Alfa Romeo. He's on the softs. It's still not quick enough to catch Toonfan, but he has split the medium runners at the front of this lap. Remember, Marina is coming round for another lap then on those medium tyres. You can see then these sort of differences. Stead goes fastest, so a Mercedes takes the first pole provisional of this session. Then a Mercedes sits atop the timesheets. Toonfan back into the pits then. Marina invalidated his lap time. He will need to either pit or come round again, depends how much fuel he has got on board. You can see a lot of drivers opting for the 1 lap and pit strategy. What about Nathan? Is he on another flyer? He looks like he has backed out of this one for the moment then. Still waiting on a few times to be set. Jacob on his outlet and pitting for more fuel by the looks of things. Apex on his flyer as he comes through turns 11, 12 and 13, flicking the car left, right and then left again as you open up for turn 14 in towards this back section as you approach your turn. Apex opting to back out then, didn't think he was going quick enough. He will need to set another time. What about Jacob as he comes around then up towards turns 15 and 16? You can see stay nice and wide, but then dive in towards turn 16, keeping nice and close to the apex of 17 up into 18 and 19. So we see the Williams driver preparing. See, it's backing off a little bit there, trying to get a little bit more heat into those tyres as you come round the 21st and final corner of this lap time. Then on board with Jacob in the Williams. Apex, you can see in front of him, has gone for another lap. His time a 1:49.3, but remember he did back out at turn 14. So as you come through turns 2, 3 and 4, then this is Jacob in the other Williams. Remember, they can also be one of the 3 Constructors' Champions based on the results from these final 2 races. We'll have to wait till next week though to find out the gold. Stay tuned for that one when we have it streamed. Coming into the back straight now as we start the long straight out of turn 7. Coming down into the thing. This straight here, 1.14 kilometers. That's almost a fifth of the track here at Abu Dhabi. To come down the back straight now into the chicanes of 11, 12 and 13. It's 1:04.2 for Jacob in that second sector. Keep that car nice and tight on the curbs as you approach 13 and 14, shifting down, keeping that car nice and rotated through the winding rights of 15 and 16. Remember, staying nice and wide and then cutting into the apex for that all-important approach to turn 17. To come, and he is backed off then, so Jacob backs off that lap. You see, he lets Gavlar through. What about Gavlar? He jumps out on the softer compound tyres then. We can see Gambino opting for a medium run as well. 4 of your drivers at the top, all on the mediums. Be interesting to watch Tristan on these softs. Watch Maverick on those fresh softs as well. Puppy on his outlap, using old softs though. What can the real DC do? He's on those hards. DC 138.5. That puts him in at P9. Nathan just behind on a 3-lap old set of softs then. So Puppy has retired. What's happened to Puppy? He's lost it at turn 2. See if we can ride on board with one of the Toro Rossos and see what's happened. There you go. Puppy has lost it then at turn 2, and he is out of this session. He cannot improve on his lap time. Took a little bit too much curb probably at turn 2, and that has seen him. He is out of this session. What can Siro do then yet to set a lap time? He is on his outlap as Devil's Nightmare goes purple in sector 1 as he comes around turn 7 onto this 1.14 kilometre straight then. 7 minutes and 25 seconds left in the session. Almost half this short qualifying session has been done as Regan goes faster than a 1:36.6. He sits atop this timesheet. Stedo out on a fresh set of softs. What about Toonfan and Gambino still in the pits then? Marina starts his 3rd qualifying lap. He turns down into turn 1 then. Sticking nice and tight to the apex on the left hand side and allows you to open that car up. Take a little bit of curb. Riding through 3 and 4, you're allowed to take a little bit of curb, but don't go too wide. Jacob then goes fastest. He goes a 1:36.624. It's a 1,000th faster than Regan. Look how close those times are then from those two drivers. Track evolution also very big at this circuit. Will Regan improve on his time then as he comes up through sector 2? What is it? He's a second up though on his lap time, so this could possibly be his in lap, but we're starting to see a lot of the drivers out on track now as Tristan comes through turn 13 and on that softer compound tyres. We approach the hotel section out of 15 and 16, then you can see the light starting to fade as we see the lights come on then, shifting the car right through 15 into 16. Coming up towards turn 20 now, on board with the Mercedes of Tristan as he comes through the final turn and onto the pit straight. Currently in P9 and he goes up to P3, so 1:36.96 tenths better off than his last time. That puts him in the 2nd row with just 5.5 minutes left of the session. Maverick 4 seconds down on his current best. What can he do as Gavlar comes into the pits then? What about we're on board with Reina for his 3rd flying lap on this set of medium tyres. He goes purple in sector 1 then by just 0.05 of a second. Coming up through the tight left of turn 7 out onto this back straight. We'll see DRS pop open any time now. Remember, put that fuel into max for qualifying. Use as much ERS as you can, but you've got to be careful not to use too much. It'll make you lose a bit of time as you come down the pit straight, shifting down then into 2nd gear for the chicane of 8 and 9 onto the 2nd back straight. The DRS pops open again for the championship winner this year. Currently sitting in at P9 of this session, his teammate on a provisional pole with just 4.5 minutes left. Where's the improvements going to come from? DC shifting from the hards to those mediums, as does Nathan. Apex still yet to set a better lap time than that 1:49.3. Siro pits then, unable to set a lap at this moment in time. He's got just 4 minutes to get himself back out. You need about 2.5 to get around and start your flyer. So a car pulling to the side as Marina comes through turn 19 out onto the final double right-hander of 20 and 21, sorry. Through onto the pit straight, he needs a 1:36.624 and it's a 1:32.695, so he's a few tenths behind his teammate then. He will need to go out again to try and secure that front row, but as I said, with strategy, will he sacrifice a higher grid position for staying on those mediums in the early stages of the race? You can see his teammate considering those softer tyres in the pits. Regan Will he come out again? Tristan, Stead, 4 and 5 from the Mercedes. Good showing from them. Remember, they are in the battle with the Williams and McLaren. Those McLarens, though, 10 and 11, both in the pits at the moment. They need to possibly come out on those stuff. You can see a Ferrari there. That looks like the Maverick getting ready to come out again. Yeah, we go. You can see his mechanic sending him on his way. He's currently in P7, but is using that fresh set of tyres then. Come through the best pit exit of the season in my mind. As the real DC goes faster than so 1:36.5 from the Renault driver puts him on a provisional pole. He was 2 seconds faster than his harder time, and you can see over a hot lap just how quick those mediums are compared to the harder tyres. Nathan up into P4 following similar then. Splits the Mercedes once again. Sorry, not the Mercedes. He's in between the Williams along with Regan. We've got yellow flags out then for a few drivers who are on there. This is back on board with Reina as he comes down into 17. Nice and tight on the exit there. Keeping close to the apex of this turn 19. But he's a little bit too slow on the exit, I think, as he comes around now. Toonfan retires from the session. So Reina boxes then from P5. Is he going to have enough time to get out again? I don't think so. So the Haas of Toonfan retiring then. He's currently in P8. You can see Puppy, his teammate, was lost earlier along with Stay. They both crashed out. They are 14th and 16th respectively. Cyro still needs to set a lap time then. He's had a few attempts but invalidated every time so far. He's coming through turns 15 and 16. Now you can see a gaggle of cars queuing up behind him. We've got a Renault, we've got a Williams, we've got a Racing Point as well. I think that's Gavlar behind him. Jacob on an outlap, Dan on another flyer. It looks like Dan is backing off then. As you can see already, his time. That allows Jacob to start his flying lap then. As you see now, the queue's really beginning to form. Regan is there. What's happened to Cyro? So Cyro's lost it. He's pitted. He's out of this session without setting a lap time then. His teammate Apex also struggling by the looks of things too. Keep that car within the track limits. He's currently down in P15. Back up the top of the grid, you've got the real DC out on another flying lap. Got AJ and Regan also on their flyers, keeping it nice and tight though. But do you want to be that close in qualifying? It's bit there. But Jacob will then look for this toe down the 1.14 kilometre straight out of turn 7 into turn 8. The Racing Point there of Regan. You can see these three drivers, 1, 2 and 3. I think Dan's pulled away though. He's backed off of his lap, but these two still on a flyer, nipping and tucking. They're almost racing already. Not even finished qualifying. Dirty air will really be affecting the engine of that Williams, and you can see he's trying to gain a bit of a toe, but at the same time he's compromising that engine performance. Reina in the pits then. He will start no higher than P5. Stead no higher than P8, and Gavlar no higher than P11. Who was that I saw invalidated? And that was Stead. So that gamble for softs did not pay off. You can see already though the top 8 minus Stead are on those harder tyres if things stay the way they are. The medium compounds being harder than the softs. As we wait, Jacob invalidated his lap time, so he will not be higher than P2. What about Regan though, as he comes around the final corner? On a little bit of touch in there from the two drivers, and Regan goes fastest, so Regan is on pole then. A 1:36.4 puts him on the front row. He goes fastest. Dan unable to improve, so he will start in P2 unless anyone can beat him. Jacob finishes, will start on the second row, but we still got a few drivers. Nathan invalidated, so after pole in Bahrain last week, he will not be on the front row. He looks like he will be starting from the second row of this race. As he pulls the Mercedes of Tristan then 2 tenths up on his previous bed. A little bit wide though on the exit of 17. Compromised his line a little bit in the approach to 18, but he's got out of there nice and tight through 19. He needs a 1:36.4 to usurp Regan at the top of the timesheets. Can he improve on P8? He comes around the final corner then. This is Tristan in the Mercedes. No, he stays P8 then. So Nathan pits, it looks like, unless Gambino can go faster, he will be in P6, and Regan will start on pole position in this race. And it looks like Gambino is out of fuel. So there we have it. Regan will be on pole for this season finale here at Abu Dhabi. He will start alongside the real DC. Jacob will round out the second row with his brother Nathan. Bit of a booth battle there going on in the second row. Reina, your championship winner, will start P5 alongside Gambino. Then the Maverick and Tristan, row 4. Stead and Toonfan round out the top 10. So Gavlar in at P11. The two McLarens having a bit of a poor qualifying. They start for 12th and 13th. Remember, they are still in the hunt for that Constructors' Championship. They lead currently by a few points, but not a very good session for them. Puppy crashed out. He starts 14th. Apex unable to improve on that first lap, will be 15. And Steve and Cyro unable to set lap times, will round out the final few places. So there we have it then. This short qualifying session is done and dusted. We're just waiting for a few drivers to come around. And there you have it. So here is your starting grid for this race. Regan will be on pole alongside Dan in the Renault. Jacob and Nathan at P3 and 4. Reina in at 5th alongside Gambino. All of those 6 on the mediums, and you've got the soft runners of the Maverick and Tristan. They'll be quick off the start, but the mediums will take you longer. Stead and Toonfan round out the top 10. So just 2 of those drivers in the top 10 on the softs. Gablar, LH, Devil's Nightmare, Puppy, Apex, Steve and Cyro round off the grid. So here we go then. Of the silver division here at WNR. Set up in these races along car performance, it makes all of it about driver ability. Obviously some luck does come into it in terms of staying clear of incidents, but the main thing is that you finish. And who will finish on the podium then after we have finished these laps? And what will the strategies be? The optimal strategy obviously will be possibly a 2-stop going from mediums to another set of mediums and soft, but if you can stretch those mediums long enough, you could attempt the 1-stop going onto the harder compound tyres. If there's an early safety car, do you take the gamble and box for the harders and then look towards the end of the race at coming in once more for either the mediums or softs? It remains to the drivers and Jeff what they decide. But here we go then, just 10 seconds till we start the formation lap. Here at Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi. You can see in the background there the light starts to fade on this session. There we go then. So the drivers are on the grid and we are about to begin the formation lap. How much heat can you get into those tyres and into those brakes? Remember, it's a short run down to turn 1, but once you're around that corner you can put your foot to the floor through turn 3 and 4 on board with Regan as we come out of the windy first sector. This is your first big braking point then at turn 5. Make sure a famous crash here from Schumacher and Liuzzi in 2012. The signs of what can happen if you do not brake early enough as we come out of turn 7. And this is the main overtaking zone of this circuit, the first DRS zone, 1.14 kilometers long, almost a fifth of the track itself. DRS opens, as you can see, at the start of it for the majority of the straight, braking roughly at the 100-meter board. As you can see, the curbs are good reference points on the left hand side of your screen there, but will be the right hand side of the driver's vision through the chicane of turn 8 and 9. Look out for here if you get a good exit and get a great run down this, back straight up towards turn 11 once more. DRS comes into play. The toe also very important here, even if you don't have DRS, which drivers can utilise that best to their advantage. 11, 12 and 13, one of the tricky chicanes, but we've seen a few overtakes here over the years, and if you get side by side it's ever likely that you can get that move done. almost flat out then through what is turns 14, 15 and 16 here, but make sure you hit that apex of turn 17, and that allows you the nice smooth line through 18. As we see from the hotel section, what a lovely bit of track this is, as coming out turn 19 up towards turn 20 and 21, the two almost 90-degree right-handers to finish the lap. So 21 turns that these drivers have to navigate for 28 laps. Regan will start on pole, then it's Dan in P2, Jacob in P3, Nathan will be P4, Marina in P5. Williams need a good result here. They're already ahead of the McLarens on the grid, but the Mercedes currently sit P8 and 9 behind Gambino and Maverick. Look out for them in the race. They'll be starting on the softs. Is P10, Gavilar in 11th. The two McLarens struggling in quali, then they are P12 and 13. Puppy 14 in 17 off. They both failed to set lap time. So here we go then. We await the starting lights here at the season finale in Abu Dhabi. We have 5 lights and we are racing then for the final time this year. Is a good start from Dan down the inside. Nathan was quick off the line, hits already past Jacob, almost touch. There's they come through turn 1. Regan gets away well. Nathan side by side with Dan as they come through turn 2. Everyone, it seems to have made it through clear, but Dan runs wide. Oh, and there's a bit of contact there from Gambino, who's up into 4th place then. And as you see, front wings flying all over the place. We're almost 4 wide as we come in to turns 5, 6 and 7. See yellow flags then, and Stead is out of this Grand Prix. So Stead has retired on lap 1, and we have a VSC. So Stead has lost it. You can see in the background there, into turn 5 and 6, he has hit the wall seemingly and lost his front wheel. We see the VSC then for the first time this evening. Looks like Saro's got a bit of wing damage, possibly from contact there then. How unfortunate for Steve. That does not do Mercedes very well in terms of their championship battle. And we can see the VSC is in again. Jacob and Nathan fighting through turns 8 and 9. Jacob coming out on top. Reina's up to P3 then. He's by side with the Renault, but those medium tyres have got enough traction to see him go around the outside. He makes a dive through 11 and 12. He has got that move done. You can see a little bit wide there from Tristan. Allows him. Oh, he cuts the corner there. He's been passed a few times. He's dropped back down to 8th then. Is under pressure from Maverick. Who's that running wide? That looks like a Haas car. Who's that? As we see, oh, Toon Fan down to 11th then, running wide through that sequence of 13, 14. The Red Bull of Steve going around the outside. He gets you see Tristan eyeing up Nathan then as they come through turn 19 into the final 2 corners. As Regan crosses the line, and Gambino having a flying first lap. He's up to P2. Started P8, remember, as Nathan pits then. So that front wing you saw looks like it was from the Alfa Romeo of Nathan. So he's dropping back down then. What sort of strategy will he be going for? So you can see Reina up to P3 then. Dan dropping down to P4. And Jacob in at P5. Both of them losing 2 positions. LH having a flyover start though. He's up to P6. We've got yellow flag in Sector 3. I think that's for Cyro then. So he's been really struggling on that opening lap, and he is into the pits. Gavilar also opting for a pit stop at this early stage. You can see Tristan up into 7th, then he's past the Maverick, and the Maverick has dropped back a bit. Steve's up to 9th place. Remember, started 16th on the grid as he defends from Toon going into turn 8 then. Nice bit of debate. He's run wide though on the exit, and that's allowed Toon to be on the back. There's a bit of contact though, so Toon, those traction on those medium tyres forces him a little bit wide out in towards the approach of turn 11. But has he got enough confidence on the brakes? Yes, he has. So he goes round the outside of Super Steve then, and he's up into P9. Little train of cars forming behind them. Toon at the head of that Maverick, managing to pull away a little bit from Toon then. So you can already see a second gap between Regan and Gambino. You can see there those fast runners on the mediums at the moment as LH gets past Jacob on the exit of turn 21 as they come down in towards turn 1. DRS opens then as we start lap 3 of this 28 lap Grand Prix, but Jacob manages to defend well. He runs a little bit wide on the exit of 1. That allows LH to sniff a move. Steve pits then, so Steve has pitted. He needs to replace that front wing. That might have come from that battle with Toon, as Nathan opted for the softs then. Gavlar going for the mediums and Shiro on the hard. So mix of strategy from the early pit stops as LH is back up past Jacob as they come out of turn 7. He will also have the DRS, but so will Jacob, and he darts left, and using that toe from the exit of the corner, he pulls into thing. Reina and Gambino fighting for PT. Reina down the inside, but there's a little bit of contact with the Alfa Romeo. Dives down the inside, and Reina makes it round. Then he's up into P2, and Gambino drops back down to P3. The gap now at the top, 2.8 seconds. That's allowing Regan to pull away with those two battling behind. Who's that? Toon Fan is up past the Maverick through the DRS then. As they come down into turn 11, he has that move done. Devils and Apex fighting as Syro retires from the session. So he does not feel confidence in this Grand Prix, and you can see further down the grid the gaps starting to form. Yellow flags in sector 3 for the retirement of Syro then. So this is Regan at the front of the Grand Prix as we come to start lap 4. LH and Jacob continuing that fight for P5. They've also closed onto the back of the Renault of Dan now. Then Puppy's given a 3-second time penalty. This the battle for 4th place. Dan leads LH, leads Jacob. A little bit wide once more from Jacob. Allows LH to pull away slightly. Dan, the gap to Gambino, 3.5 seconds, but he's got to defend a little bit now. Both cars behind within the second barrier. They both have DRS coming out of turn 7. As Nathan goes fastest, then a 1:40.2. The lap record at the moment in the 1:39s. That was set by Lewis Hamilton last year then. So here we go. Will anyone be able to make DRS count? Dan, it looks like he's just far enough in front at the moment. We can see an Alfa Romeo wide then, and that's Nathan. Nathan is out of the Grand Prix. You can see there on the right hand side, Nathan has hit the wall at turn 1 and 2, and he is out of this race. And the virtual safety car makes a second appearance of the evening. So after contact in the opening laps, Nathan pitted, but he has not been able to capitalise on that strategy. He is out of this race. So just 4 laps in and we have lost 3 runners. Nathan, Syro and Stead. Regan leads Reina by 2.9 seconds now under this VSC. Gambino further 2.5 back. The real DC, LH and AJ Wuhan fighting for that P4 spot. You can see Tristan ever closer to them, but you can see already the degrading on those softer tyres starting to give him a little bit less grip as he comes out of the faster corners. Toon Fan a further second back. Maverick and Apex round out the top 10. Apex up from P15. Devil's Nightmare, Puppy, Stee and Gavlar at the back. And Reina's given a drive-through penalty then for speeding under the safety car. He will have to take that within 3 laps. That is devastating for him. Second time he's been caught out by that I can remember this season. He will need to come into the pits and will lose about 35-40 seconds, considering that the pit lane here at Abu Dhabi is a Maverick boxes then from P11. How will this help Regan and Gambino? Gambino within a second, he'll have DRS down this back straight then. Is he going to be close enough to catch that? Williams doesn't look like it, but remember this is almost a double DRS zone, so he will have another chance coming out of turn 9. On board with the Alfa Romeo then as he comes into the second straight, but it's a great exit from Reina in that Williams car, and he manages to stay ahead for the time being by the looks of things. You see in the foreground there Regan starting to pull away, 2.5 seconds that gap now. What about the battle for 4th? Back on board with it. LH looking down the inside at turn 11, very tight line, but using a little bit of the curb, gets those elbows out round in the background. Tristan and Toon Fan fighting. Jacobs given a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings then, going a little bit too far over the curb. Has cost him 3 seconds at the end of his race. So LH flying in the McLaren up into P4. So Reina and Gambino fighting for P2 as they come out of 19. Gambino dives down the inside at 20. Is there enough? Oh, Regan spun it! Regan has spun it at turn 19 and 20, sorry. And Regan has dropped to P3. Marina boxes for that drive-through penalty, and Gambino takes the lead of the race. Started in P8, is now up to first. Regan in at P2, where you've got LH and Jacob and Dan all behind him. Jacob getting past Dan then through that final sector. The Renault driver seeming to struggle a little bit as Regan's retired from the race. So Regan is out of this race. You can see on the left hand side of your screen that the Racing Point has hit the wall and is out of this Grand Prix then. Who's that? That's Devil's Nightmare. He's also round. Luckily he's able to get that car going again, but he's dropped bound. So how it all can go wrong in the space of a few corners. Regan was leading this race by 2.5 seconds. Spun it at turn 20 and managed to get going again, but has spun it again at turn 3 with those warm-up tyres, and he is now out of this race. DRS enables as the VSC is back in. This has now become a battle for P2. LH leads Jacob and Dan all within the second barrier for DRS as they come out of turn 9 into this second long back straight. Toonfan up past Tristan. Those softs seeming to go off for the Mercedes driver. Apex is down the inside then. He is up into P6. What about Jacob? He's up past. Oh, and McLaren gets him back through the exit of 13. As we come up now in. They're going two abreast then in towards turn 16 and 17. But the McLaren keeping it ahead after Jacob thinks better of it. Toonfan up to 5th then as he comes and joins the back of this pack. Look out for Apex and Tristan also. Rayner coming out in P8. He is 7 seconds back from that battle after serving that drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Jacob is into the pits then. So lap 7 he pits for a fresh set of softs. The gap at the front between Gambino and LH is 4 seconds. Dan has been dropped by LH. Out of DRS, look out for Toon as they come behind. Who else is in? That's Rayner as well. So the Williams opting for a double stop. Luckily they were far enough that they didn't have to queue. Rayner opting for the softs by the looks of things. Jacob going for another set of mediums. So as we go grid then, that puts Maverick into the top 10. LH now on the chase to catch Gambino. The Alfa Romeo leads by 4 seconds on lap 7 of this Grand Prix then. You can see Dan in at P3 with the Haas of Toonfan all over the back of him. The Toon opens DRS and looks down the inside of the Renault into turn 11. And he gets the move done there, but you've got to make sure you get through this chicane nice and clean, and he gets that done. Well done too. So Apex joining the back of the Renault now, looking at the back of his gearbox as Rayner is already past, stealing down the back straight into turn 8, and he will have DRS, will he, or will that be Super Steve? So Super Steve has the DRS then as they come up towards 11. So Toonfan's given a 3-second time penalty. That will come into play at the end of the race as always as Dan dives into the pit lane then. So the undercut from Jacob, look out for that now. He's currently in P9. As Tristan pits from those softs as well, but he's given a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Again, that will go into play at the end of the race. Where do DC and Tristan come out? So Tristan is past DC. Jacob manages to pull away from these two then, so they have lost time by staying out those extra couple of laps. Jacob chasing down Devil's Nightmare then. The gap you can see closing by about 2/10 every corner with those fresher tyres. At the front, the gap almost a second down from what it was a few laps ago. You can see sub at 3 seconds now as LH really pushing in that McLaren. Started in at P11 on the grid. Remember, he's up to P2. Rayner among those serving a drive-through penalty. Regan, your pole sitter, span a few laps ago and then span again, but this time he hit the wall. He had to retire from the race. You can see Rayner making a move on the Maverick down in DRS. He will be up ahead of that. Oh, as you can see, the real DC then all over the back of the Maverick on those fresh softs. As we see DRS open now on the exit of turn 9. DC losing out quite a lot there from that pit stop. As they come through 13 now. Still your background there, Steve and Gav fighting for P12. Steve is up past the racing point in. Back to the front of the grid. That gap now down to just under 2 seconds. LH pushing really hard on those mediums, but will he be able to catch Gambino before they pit? Who will pit first, as Jacob is up past Puppy then, who dives into the pit lane on those soft compound tyres. Starting to see now a mix of strategies. The two soft compounds for Tristan so far. Marina opting for a medium soft. The real DC opting for the medium soft. Jacob though going for the medium and I presume soft at the end. We shall see. Remember, there are a few time penalties up and down the grid. It's Apex looks down the inside of Toon in the DRS zone, and he is through comfortably then. Seeing yellow flags in sector 1 and 2. As you see, that looks like a Ferrari then. It looks like the Maverick has gone wide. You can see he has lost it at turn 3 and he has lost his front wing, so he will need to pit again. That drops him to the back of the grid and P13. Gambino pulled out a second on LH then. Gap now 2.4 seconds. Toonpan back up past Apex through that second DRS, using turns 11, 12 and 13 to his advantage. Steve gets past Gavlar then for P10. Did say DRS would be key for overtakes here. The real DC now looking to catch Raina and Tristan. Pulling away from him a little bit though, with obviously that DRS. But we shall see. This the closest battle on track then, and this is for position as Toon dives into the pits. The Haas driver then opting on lap 10 to go into the pit lane. Jacob is up past Devil's Nightmares. He too boxes this lap. Toon serving one of those penalties and having to change his front wing. That will cost him a bit more time, as Raina sets the fastest lap of the race. He's now up to P6. That's a 1:20.8. Those fresh softs starting to come into play with the lower fuel loads. He's now all over the rear airflow of Tristan as they come up towards turns 5 and 6. You can see just how much time he gained in that braking zone. We'll stay on board then as they come out of turn 7, as Toon comes back out in P10 following his stop. Will Raina be able to get this move done? He's ever close in on the gearbox of that Mercedes. He dives to the left hand side then and is ahead, but Tristan looking on those brakes to try and get back through. So Raina up into P5 then. We stay on board then through the second DRS. This time Tristan has that extra airflow. Will he be able to dive and make a move? No, he's just a little bit too far. That's a lot shorter obviously than the first DRS zone, but still helps. What about the DC as he catches? He is 1.4 seconds off that battle for what is P5 at the moment. Back at the front of the grid, and Gambino pits then, so your race leader pits and LH takes over at the front of this Grand Prix. Can he push those medium compound tyres a little bit further and at one stop? As we see, Apex is up into P2 as well. He has got past Jacob, gets past Gambino, but he pitted 4 laps earlier, remember, so a little bit wide on the exit from Gambino at the pit lane. Stay clear of that wall. We can see this is the battle for P5. Will they get out in front of Gambino? No. So Gambino slots into P4. Good stop from the Alfa Romeo team. Gap between him and Jacob in front is 5.9 seconds. See the gap starting to form at the front of this race. The closest battle on track then is that for the final points playing position, and that is between Gab and Steve. They've been at it for about 3 or 4 laps now as we come into 5 and 6. Gavlar a lot more confident on those brakes as we come round into turn 7. You can see a little bit of graining on the tyres of Stedo, who's a lap younger than Gavlar, but Gavlar's looking in a little bit better condition. As we see the Racing Point driver looking to stay in the right hand side on the outside for turn 8, and you can see he's almost passed, and there he is. So he's in front of Steve, but Steve's a lot later on the brakes. However, that has compromised him in his run very, very wide. You can see he's given a 3-second penalty, but he will have to give a lot of time back to Gav or risk a penalty. Excuse me. So LH starts lap 12. 11 laps currently completed on those medium tyres. Apex and Jacob just behind. Jacob closing that gap drastically in that lap though. Almost 3.5 seconds now, the gap between him and Apex, who is in P2. Apex yet to pit. Gambino was in P1, but obviously he pit for those fresh softs. He's a further 5.5 seconds back. What about the battle for P5 and 6? Tristan being dropped by Reina. That has allowed Dan to approach the gearbox of the Mercedes driver. Tristan a little bit out of shape on the entry to turn 5, but manages to get through that chicane right there. Dan will look on the inside of the exit of turn 7. You can see he will be almost right behind the Mercedes driver as his DRS opens, and he will pull to the left hand side on the straight and almost certainly get this move done into the braking zone for turn 8. And the Renault driver is through then. Gap between him and Reina 1.6 seconds. LH given a 3-second time penalty then. Your race leader gets a time penalty for multiple warnings. That will possibly cost him. We shall see. Tristan though up back past Dan in that DRS, but he's given a 3-second time penalty as well. You saw he took a lot of curb on the entry of 11, and he has been punished by the race steward. So lap 12 of 28, you can see at the top of this Grand Prix, LH started in P11, but he boxes this lap then. So your race leader is in. Look out for Gambino. The gap between them was 2 seconds when Gambino pitted. But LH is in this lap. And it looks like Gambino will retake the lead quite handsomely over Gambino. But Jacob up into P2 after stopping. The one driver at the top of the grid yet to stop is Apex. He is currently a 1.5 seconds ahead of Jacob, who's closing in on those fresher tyres as LH opts for the harder compound. So he will be looking to one stop as Reina's out. Reina is out of the race. You can see Reina has crashed coming out of turn 3, and for the second time today we have lost a driver at this position. Look at the left of your screen now and you will see there is the stricken Williams. Your championship winner does not end on a high. He will be unable to complete this race. Apex is given a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. So he will have to pit this penalty within 3 laps, and he needs to possibly pit as well under the safety car. It's all gone wrong for the Toro Rosso driver. So after 2 VSCs, we have got a proper safety car now then. Dear oh dear, what would you be thinking if you are Reina? How unlucky must you have been to lose it there? So lap 13 of 20, almost halfway through this Grand Prix, and we have our first safety car here at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi. Apex leads Jacob and Gambino. Remember, Apex is yet to pit though, and Jacob pitting 4 laps earlier than Gambino. At the pit stops, Gambino managed to pull away from LH because LH will be one stopping by the looks of things. Gambino opting for 2 sets of mediums. He will need to pit again to put a second compound on that car. You can see a few drivers now starting to pit. So that is Apex in the pit lane. So there is his pit stop, and I'm sure we'll see him in again soon for his drive-through. So Jacob opting for the hards as well. He'll look to go for the second half of this race on that set of tyres. See, DC is also in, but he's opted for the mediums this time. So he's ditched the Redwood softs and has put on the yellow mediums. Tristan has gone for the hards. Gavlar is in as well. You can see right now the strategies are coming into play. Toonfan on these softs. Won't be able to get those till the end of the race. So when does he pit? We shall wait and see. So LH, what a safety car this has been for him. Remember, he pitted a few laps later than Gambino and lost a lot of time in terms of where they were on track to the pit stops, but he has come out just a second behind and with the tyres that can take him to the end of the race. Gambino will need to pit though. He's used 2 sets of mediums and not any of the others. So Apex in at P3 after that stop, but remember he has that drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Jacob as fit, fresh heart, he is P4. Toonfan in at P5. Devils in at P6. So the McLaren driver is doing well to get into the top 10 so far. The Real DC is P7. He can take those mediums to the end of the race. Maybe it'll be about 12 laps once the safety car has gone in. Tristan opting for the hards. Puppy on the medium. Stee will have to pit again. Those softs will not last till the end. Gavlar opting for the hards, and the Maverick is on the mediums. So we're halfway through this WNR Silver Division season finale then. We have lost 5 drivers. Marina out at turn 3, spinning off the curbs into the wall. He has brought out this safety car. Regan was in the lead of this race, but he lost it coming out of turn 20. That meant his tyres were too hot, so when he came through turn 2 and 3, he lost it into the wall. Nathan lost it coming out into turn 5. He once again hit the wall, and Cyro and Stead unfortunately didn't last very long. Cyro opting to retire in the pit lane, and Stead an unfortunate casualty on the first lap. So to come round turn 20 onto the final pit straight as we start lap 15 of this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So here at RRC, if you have not tuned in before, we ran races 6 out of 7 nights during the week. We are at the end of season 1, but going into season 2, we will be running those 6 different nights, all with slightly different formats. On Mondays we will have MNR, then Tuesdays is the reversed grid reverse grid championship, where obviously in the name it says if you are P20 in the championship you will be on pole, and if you are in P1 you will start at the back of the grid and have to fight your way through. WNR here is the same as normal. It will be 2 divisions of silver and gold, but there will be a change and a shake up in terms of the race formats. So there will be a double race. You will have a point on offer for pole position, with race 1 being a short qualifying session and 25% race distance. Race 2 will be 1 shot and a 25% race distance. Remember, points on offer for those pole positions. There will also be Friday night racing, where for the first time here at RRC we will have a bronze division involved. So there'll be 3 divisions, gold, silver and bronze, all following the traditional calendar. You see the safety car will be in this lap then, so as you come through turns 13 and 14 the safety car will be pitting in on board there. Going back to Friday night racing quickly, the gold division will have a full qualifying with a 50% race distance and custom setup. Silver will be full qualifying 50%, but it will be presets, so only what you can select from the game, and the bronze format will be a short qualifying 50% race and fixed setups. Across those 3 divisions there will be 5 drivers each representing a constructor as they go for both individual and team constructors championship, with the classic F1 on the Sunday. That will be short qualifying, a 25% race distance with a mandatory pit stop, so 10 cars and 10 track across the season. So on board then with Gambino as he approaches this safety car restart. We come and he puts the foot to the floor through turn 21, but he's spun it, oh, and he's almost lost it. That allows LH to make a move down the inside, so LH takes the lead in this Grand Prix, but Gambino goes very wide. I'm sure there was a little bit of an illegal overtake there from LH because of that yellow card period. Not his fault personally, but due to the laws of the game, he had to give that position back. But Ryan on board with the helicopter as we come into turn 5, as we've got yellow flags, and that's Toon. No, Toon! What's happened, Toon? Oh, he's hit the wall coming out of turn 5, and Toon is out. So we'll ride on board with Apex, and we'll probably be able to see. Lee Stricken has no, it's gone. So you can just see on the right side is where Toon lost it. So he is out of this race as Jacob is up past LH then on the run down to turn 8. He's up into P2. He'll chase down Gambino, who is a second up the road. What about the real DC? He has got Devil's Nightmare all over his gearbox. With a DC trying to take those mediums to the end of this race. Who's that? That's Tristan looking down the inside in towards turn 11. Who's going to be later on the brakes? It looks like it's Devil's Nightmare, but he's had to back out, and Tristan is up into P5. Puppy and Stay just behind them. Remember, you saw Stay was given a 5-second penalty for collision with Puppy under that safety car, being caught out as they come run down into turn 17. The gap at the front now 1.3 seconds. Those mediums allowing Gambino to just pull away ever so slightly, but remember, Gambino will need to pit, whereas Jacob and LH can go to the end of the race on that harder compound. LH with a one-stop strategy. Jacob has already pit before, but opted to pit under that safety car. Look at Dan then, he's coming ever closer to this battle with Tristan. 2 seconds behind him then. That battle with Devils costing them both a little bit of time. The front four starting to pull away as we are on lap 17 of 28, just over 11 laps to go. Gambino leads by just under a second now. Will Jacob have the DRS on the run to turn 8? We shall see. Here we go. There's yellow flags in sector 2 though. Who's that for? That's Puppy. Puppy has gone wide. So he is spun it at turn 6 as Maverick is given a penalty for a collision with Puppy. And his safety car is out again then. So although Puppy was able to get going, the safety car comes out again. And this will possibly stir up some strategies. Looking at Gambino and Devil's Nightmare on the 6 and 7 lap old tyres, they will possibly need to pit again. So now better than ever, you can see Puppy will need a new front wing. This will do Dan nicely in P4. Remember those medium tyres, he was trying to get them to last 12 laps, but will be less tyre wear under this period with the reduced speed and fuel consumption. He will be happy with that. So what does Gambino do? Does he pit now, or does he stay out on those medium tyres? We shall see. The safety car is out for the second time today then. This time unfortunately it was just a glitch where it comes out despite no one crashing and retiring. So this will allow Apex to catch up to the back of that pack then. Can he get those softs to go 10 laps? As we see LH pits and Tristan pits, so opting to possibly ditch those hards for a fresh set of mediums. It looks like they're fresh for Tristan. What about LH? He's opting for the softs then, so LH looking to go on these softs. Maverick serves a penalty in the pit lane, so does Steve, as Apex boxes as well. So Gambino opting to stay out. That's put the real DC onto the podium. Devil's Nightmare up in 4th, but you can see the graining on those front tyres for the McLaren driver. What about Gavlar? He's up to P5 after his early troubles. LH comes back out in 6th place, but you can see there he's got the softer compound out of all those top 6. So watch for him on the restart with the speed and traction. But just make sure you don't wear them out too quickly. Remember, there's still 10 laps to go in this race. So we see on board with Tristan, he's opted for a fresh set of mediums. The Maverick is on the hards, Steve on mediums, Apex on the mediums. So safety car out after a collision at turn 7. Luckily no one out retirement wise, but there was a bit of damage to a few cars. We have lost 6 drivers in this Grand Prix then. Toon losing it on the first safety car restart into the wall at turn 5. Same position as Nathan did on lap 4. Marina and Regan both spinning it at turn 3 and 4, hitting the wall at the pit exit. They both retired. Regan from the lead. He spun and then lost it on those old tyres. Stead, an unfortunate casualty on lap 1, and Saro opting to retire in the pit lane. This is lap 18 of 28 here for WNR Silver at Abu Dhabi. If you are interested in joining us for Season 2, then feel free to find us on Facebook and speak to one of the admins. Apex is given a 5-second penalty for exceeding the track limits then, as the safety car goes for another lap. There'll be just 8 laps to go when we restart, as Devil's Nightmare opts to pit then. So Devil's Nightmare boxes from P4 to put on a fresh set of tyres, and he's opting for those softs like his teammate, so he'll be looking to go about 8 or 9 laps on that compound. Coming through the beautiful tunnel. It's back onto the corner, so LH up to 5th on those softs. Gavlar, the real DC, Gambino all chasing down your race leader, who is Gambino in the Alfa Romeo. He still needs to pit, remember though, because he has only fitted the medium tyres. You can see from the strategies, Jacob using the first safety car to pit for a set of hards. Dan opting for a double mediums. Gav has used all 3 compounds, as has LH then. So LH was on the 1 stop, but has used this safety car period to change it. You can see the Maverick down there with 6 pit stops in this Grand Prix. Oh, it's Gambino in the background there, goes really close to hit. No, he's hit the safety car. So Gambino has hit the safety car there. You can see just through the pause menu. He's lucky to get out of that scot-free. I don't think he would have been given a penalty for that, but we shall see. A lot of warnings being given here. So Gambino, yeah, you can see given a warning for colliding with the safety car. And we can see the safety car will be coming in this lap then. So watch as Gambino backs up the pack. Got a little bit of time before the safety car can pit and get away, but you remember, you don't want to give too much space before. You put the power to that. Remember, last safety car, he opted to keep it nice and tight in turn 21, but then put his foot to the floor on the pit straight. Allowed him to gain a bit of a gap on LH, but he did wind his car a little bit too much and lost the rear. However, he wasn't past the start finish, so LH had to give that place back. But look out for Jacob and Dan on this restart, both on fresher tyres, as we come around now through turn 20 into the final corner. When does Gambino go? He brakes for turn 21. You can see there he puts the power down. This time he managed to keep it. Jacob immediately pulls to the right. He's got better traction on that tyre. As Apex is disqualified from the session for ignoring that drive-through penalty of speeding under the safety car. He has been disqualified. So those yellow flags you can see for the Maverick, who has lost it at turn 1 again. Jacob managed to get a better restart, but Gambino managing to stay ahead. You can see LH fighting alongside the Renaults. He come in towards turn 7. He makes a nice move down the inside, but can he get it to stick? You can see there how much more traction he's got on the exit of turn 7, and the speed as it come down towards turn 8, but the real DC able to get in front. As you see in the background there, Tristan looking down the inside of Gavlar. Will he get a move into turn 8? No, he thinks better of it. All very close at the front of this Grand Prix. We're on lap 20 of 28. We have just restarted from behind the safety car after a crash at turn 7. Brought it out for the second time this evening. Gambino just 3/10 ahead of Jacob at the front of this race. Here we're coming out through turn 14. That gap remaining about just under half a second. Devil's Nightmare's given another 3-second time penalty. He is in P9 for the McLarens. Remember, the Williams had a chance to close the gap. Oh, a little bit wide on the exit of turn 17 from Jacob. The camera angle a little bit deceiving as well. Here at WNR, there is a joint constructors across the two divisions. Williams had a chance to chase down McLaren as well as Mercedes, but we lost Stead from the Mercedes and we lost Marina from the Williams. So what dent can they make currently? P2 for the Williams of Jacob and P6 for Tristan, but you can see in the background there that McLaren of LH is in P4. So you can see almost a second and a half separates your top four as they come in towards turn 5 and 6. This little train starting to pull away from Gav now, who's a second 0.2 behind. The Maverick's given another 3-second time penalty. On board with the Gambino now as they come down the back straight. The darkness starts to fall here at Abu Dhabi's Yas Marina Grand Prix. DRS unable to use this lap because of that safety car restart then. But who's got a better use of the toe? The real DC looks down the inside. In the background you can see Tristan going for a move on Gav, but unable to get through. Will he have the better exit coming out of this chicane? Not this time. You can see all over the back of that Williams gearbox is the real DC. Yellow flags out in sector 2. That looks like it's for the Maverick again, losing it at turn 3. Tristan is up past Gavlin there in the background. He's gone around the outside of turn 11. Devil's Nightmare all over the back of Puppy. Gavlar is up back past Tristan, and Tristan's lost it. Oh, Tristan! He's lost it on turn 13 and he is around and drops into P10. Not the restart that he would have wanted. Back up to the front of this Grand Prix there in the gap. Half a second between your race leader and P2. But this is the battle for the podium effectively. LH all over the back of that Renault's gearbox as they come round the final corner and start lap 22 of this Grand Prix. DRS enabled then following the safety car restart. Look out for all these three making moves from the gap between turn 7 and 8 down that 1.1 kilometre straight, using all the tricks they can. ERS, fuel, toe, DRS. If you're Gambino, what do? We come up through the chicane of 5 and 6 in towards that hairpin at turn 7. Here we go then. Oh, and there's a Ferrari. That's the Maverick. He's off at turn 3. Here we go then. The DRS you can see of all three of those cars open, but they're not close enough to Gambino. Remember, Gambino still needs to pit. He has only used the medium tyres in this Grand Prix. He cannot go to the end without using another compound. I personally believe he made a mistake in not pitting under that safety car. But we shall see then as we use the second set of DRS on this lap. Through turn 13 and 14 they remain as they were at the start. There's a bit of LH in the background there, looking down the inside of the Renault. Oh, a little bit of contact, but they managed to keep it going. And this is the battle for first place here at WNR. And what a race it's been so far, full of incidents, good racing and overtakes. We've got just under 6 laps to go then. Gambino leads Jacob in the Williams. Behind them are Dan and LH. Gambino still stays out. He is really struggling, and as Tristan has pits for new tyres, he's on the softs, will be going possibly for the fastest lap. But you can see there, Jacob's got the better exit out of turn 1. He is all over the back of the Alfa Romeo as they come through turn 4. Down into turn 5 then. Look out for the DRS. He's going to be close enough this lap. Train of cars now dropping Devil's Nightmare. He's just 3 seconds back. If they keep fighting, he might be able to join the party. What brilliant racing this is. You can see LH now looking down the inside of that Renault, down the DRS. He's not close enough this time. I don't think any of these cars are close enough. Is Dan going to dive down the inside? No, he's not. He thinks better of it. LH losing a little bit of time there. Whether he decided to back off or not, I don't know. But this is the battle for the lead with just 4.5 laps to go. You can see all these drivers looking to manoeuvre their cars and look for any opportunity they can. A little bit wide from Jacob on the exit of turn 11 there. Will the Gambino race leader pit? He needs to fit another compound. I don't know whether he knows this, but he has to pit again. And that will cost him the race victory, unfortunately. There is no way he's going to have enough time to make up the 40 odd seconds you lose in the pit lane. As he goes round and starts another lap of this Grand Prix then. Is that wide from Jacob on the exit? No. He's managed to keep it there. Camera angles very deceiving here at Abu Dhabi. See this battle for P2 starting to be a little bit more closer than the battle for the lead. Oh, it's Gambino's gone! Gambino's gone wide. He's gone wide and he's dropped down to P3 then. So Jacob takes the lead of the race. Dan moves up into P2. Those tyres look a little bit too old for the Alfa Romeo driver and he has lost time. But what's that? That's LH. LH has gone. Oh no, LH. He looks like he's lost his front wing. Oh dear, LH has lost his front wing. You can see there that front nose cone on the McLaren. Heartbreak for LH. That incident there with Gambino, he went a little bit too wide coming out of turn 4, and it looks like LH has gone into the back of the Alfa Romeo driver as Dan looks to make a move on Jacob then down the outside of turn 11. He puts the Renault on the inside of turn 12 and he's through into the lead then. Dan takes the lead of this race. Jacob is down to P2, Gambino in P3. Oh, unfortunate for LH. I can't help but feel we've done a brilliant race on the original one stop. Oh, Gambino goes really wide there and he's lost his front wheel. He is out of this Grand Prix. You can see there he has clipped the wall on turn 16 and he is out of this race. That puts Devil's Nightmare onto the podium then. Can he bring it home for the McLaren and extend their advantage at the top of the timesheet? Remember, if they both finish this race, they will increase that. Maverick needs to pit again by the looks of things. Tristan set the fastest lap of the race on those fresh softs. He's currently languishing in P10 though after that spin on the safety car restart. You can see there, heartbreak for LH as he pits for a fresh front wing. We've got just 3 laps to go. Dan overtaking Jacob to take the lead of this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Jacob within DRS, so this will be a battle to the finish. Devil's Nightmare 3 seconds back. Puppy in P4, but he's got Gavlar all over the back of him. Staying on board with the Racing Point then as we come down in towards turn 8 and the Racing Point is through. So he is through then into P4. Devil's Nightmare being dropped. So LH is given a 5-second penalty for crossing the pit lane exit. It's all gone terribly wrong for the McLaren driver. As we see, these are your front 3, but Devil's Nightmare is dropping back. The gap now 5 seconds to this fight for the win. Just 2.5 laps to go. Who will come out on top? The Renault of the Real DC leads AJ Wuhan by just 0.4 of a second. As he comes through the hotel section now on to turn 20 as they approach it now. They go through turn 20 then. Both of these drivers pitting under the safety car for a fresh compound to take them to the end. Jacob opting for the harder tyres and Dan opting for the mediums. 0.3 the gap. This is going to be one hell of a finish from these 2 drivers, but remember, Jacob has that 3-second time penalty and I don't think Dan has any. So will Jacob risk losing time to Devil's Nightmare behind? That gap is 4.3 seconds. But here we go then, DRS for the Williams driver. Let's ride on board with them then as they come out of turn 7 down the floodlit straight in towards turn 8. You can see the Real DC's medium tyres giving him a lot of better speed on the exit, and he's not close enough this time then. And I don't think he'll be close enough on this one as they come under that banner there for the Yas Marina circuit. Lap 26 of 28 here at WNR. The Real DC leads on board with AJ Wuhan. Jacob looking to catch Dan in these final few things. Puppy's up past Gavlar then into turn 11. He's put his Haas back past the racing point. LH up past Maverick then into P7. Tristan then in at P9, currently holds the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on those fresh soft tyres. Steve runs a little bit wide of turn 16. It's a gap now, 5/10 a gap. The real DC with the better traction out of corners as we start the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix. This is one of the closest battles on track alongside this one at 4P4. Puppy leads Gavlar at the moment, but with Abu Dhabi you can never rule out the straight. Keeping it nice and tight through turns 2, 3 and 4. Trying not to go too wide and take a lot of that curb into the wall, which has happened to a few drivers today. And Jacob dropping a little bit further back then from the Renault. Steve's given a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. He's currently in at P6 and started in at P17. He is up to P6. Good race from them. Only 9 cars racing at this moment in time. We lost Gambino most recently. He unfortunately clipped the wall at turn 16, lost his front wheel and went zooming into the barriers. Unfortunate for him, he was leading, but he did have to pit anyway, so wouldn't have won this Grand Prix. As Gavlar and Puppy still fighting for P4. Gavlar getting past, but Puppy using the second DRS zone to his advantage. This gap still just 4/10 at the front of the Grand Prix, but with just a lap and a few corners to go, is the Williams driver going to be able to make a move? We shall see then. Devil's Nightmare steady in P3. Those soft tyres look like they're graining a little bit for the McLaren driver, but he is still going strong. He leads Puppy by 8 seconds. That gap with Gavlar is just 0.3 of a second. We're on the final lap of the Grand Prix here at Abu Dhabi. We have lost 8 drivers, of this 17 car grid. As Devil's Nightmare is given a 3-second time penalty then. So Jacob looks like he will finish in the top 2, but will he finish first or will he finish second? Looks like DC will be able to stay in front, but remember, this is one of the last real opportunities to overtake as they come onto the long DRS straight out of turn 7. You can already see the traction that the Renault has coming out of that corner. Gains him that 3 or 4 tenths that he needs to just stay in front of the Williams car. He's in the toe now as they approach the braking zone for turn 8, and he's not made it through this time. He's still behind Dan's Renault, looking at that gearbox for about 7 or 8 laps at the moment. And DRS opens once more, but the real DC much better traction on the exit with those medium tyres, and it looks like he will take victory here. But we've got a few more corners and I don't want to commentate to curse it, so we shall see. Gavlar back past Puppy then, but Puppy once again has the DRS on the run down towards turn 11. Looks a little bit too far back though this time, and it goes round the outside. Oh, and Puppy goes a little bit too deep at that corner. That allows Gavlar to go through. Puppy's given a 3-second time penalty too, but Gavlar is up into 4th and stays in 4th. So as Dan comes around the final 2 corners, this battle for the lead has been ever so close the last few laps, but the Renault driver stays in front as they come through turn 21 on lap 28. It's a race to the line, but the real DC takes the victory here in Abu Dhabi and wins in WNR in the final season race. Jacob eventually 3.1 seconds back, but he was pushing that Renault all the way. Time penalties costing him then. Gavlar up into the podiums. He takes that final spot. Devil's Nightmare dropping down to 4th. Unfortunately, with those penalties, he is 5th. Puppy is 6th. As we wait for LH to cross the line then, he was doing ever so well, but unfortunate contact and penalties means he will finish in P7 then. So we just wait for the Maverick and Tristan to cross the line respectively, as Tristan's given another 3-second time penalty, but he will come across the line with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix then from pitting onto those fresh softs. But there is your race winner, the Renault of the real DC. Not for the first time this season in WNR Silver. He will stand atop the podium Jacob just behind him, and Gavlar in third. That's back-to-back podiums for the Racing Point driver. So there you have it, the final podium of this season. Your championship winner was indeed Marina. He unfortunately could not finish on a high. He crashed out midway through this Grand Prix. His teammate, though, there you can see in P2. What about constructors? That's still to be determined. McLaren were leading by a few points, but Williams only able to gain a few points back. That 18 from Jacob, but LH and Devil's Nightmare both scoring points for McLaren. Tristan and Mercedes getting a few points clawed back, but again, Stead out of this race means that they can't make a big chunk in there. And there we have it, the final race director results screen of WNR Silver, and the real DC beats Jacob by 3.1 seconds thanks to that thing. It was a race to the line, and it was ever so slightly from Jacob, but Gavlar rounds out that podium. Devil's Nightmare up from P13. What a drive from him. Steve again for 11 places he has gained. Puppy in P6, 7th for LH after that unfortunate bit of contact. Maverick, Tristan and Gambino manages to secure a point despite crashing out because he is the 10th classified driver. He was in the lead of that race, but after refusing to pit, he will unfortunately not win this Grand Prix, and that is it then. We are done and dusted here for RRC's WNR Silver. Your drivers champion Marina. Your team constructors yet to be decided. Remember, that runs across both divisions, so we wait till next week when Gold will go for their edition of this race. Remember to tune in on Friday for FNR. That will be the next time we will be joining you. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we shall see you then.